Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me today is Sam West, and today we're going to be talking about the spell Blade Ward. We're going to open this up where I'm going to say, Blade Ward looks like a pretty cool spell, and Sam's going to tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, I am. Oh God, is this spell awful? Holy moly, what a stinker! This thing.
Oh
is...
no!
Oh God, Blade Ward is so bad.
All right, well, I'm going to read the description first because this.
Please do. Put it on screen for the viewers at home.
I will. All right. It's a cantrip.
It is.
You extend your hand and trace a sigil of warding in the air. Until the end of your next turn, you have resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks. That sounds nice.
Doesn't it? That sounds great. Oh, resistance to damage seems so useful. Very, you just take less damage, you don't get hit as much. It's great. Here's why this spell is dookie. There's a thing that every person in the game can do. In fact, this is the secret tech that your DMs don't want you to know. It's called the dodge action. As an action, you can choose to dodge, and things have disadvantage on attack rolls against you. In addition, you have advantage on dexterity saving throws. And you can just do that. Regardless of who your character is, regardless of your class or race, regardless of your background, you can just dodge. You have that option.
Well, there it is.
To that point, no one ever does. And the reason no one ever dodges is because dodging is exclusively defensive. D&D combat specifically is about racing resources. You're trying to reduce their HP as fast as possible, typically, or come up with some other objective the encounter is looking for. Usually it's killing everything in sight. In that instance, you potentially doing nothing by simply reducing the numbers you're losing doesn't help you win. It in no way, shape, or form is really changing the outcome of the game for you. You aren't reducing their numbers. You're not pushing your resources towards advantage. You are just attempting to mitigate your losses. And notably, it is exclusive to the caster's losses. So if you're in a situation where you're about to get bludgeoned to death by a very large greatsword, or let's say Warhammer, that's a more fun weapon, you could choose to A, dodge, mitigates the spell existence entirely. You don't need the spell anymore. You could just dodge instead. But B, you could disengage and move. That takes you out of the dangerous situation and repositions you, which can be some form of tactical advantage. Both of those things are way better than using a cantrip to reduce potential incoming damage. If they miss, you wasted your action. If you are attacked, 2 to be dealt damage, and they don't hit you, and you cast Blade Ward, you would have been better off casting any other cantrip in the game. You would have been better casting Mage Hand and grabbing a stick off the ground to hit them with it next turn. That is how bad Blade Ward is. There is no reasonable time to cast Blade Ward. It doesn't exist because you could just do things anyone could do that are roughly as good, if not better, or you could just do something proactive, like punch it in the face.
Sure. All right, you've won another convert, Sam.
Great.
I'm trying to think of a devil's advocate thing here, but I'm coming up blank.
Yeah, this is a horrendous spell. There's 3 spells in this sort of school of, there are 3 spells that sort of give you varying bonuses. There's guidance, guidance is ability checks. There's True Strike, which gives you advantage on attack rolls. Blade Ward gives you resistance to damage. And then there's another one that is a D4 on saving throws, I think.
No, aid?
No, I'm blanking on it. In any case, of the spells that are like give you bonuses to things, Blade Ward is the worst. The saving throw one's pretty bad too.
Resistance.
That's the one. Yeah. Resistance is pretty bad too, but at least resistance you can, like, if you know you're going to go through an explosive trap, be like, all right, resistance the barbarian. He goes and sets it off and hopefully passes, but if not, whatever. That has like some niche use cases where Blade Ward you will never find time to cast this. Now, granted, there may be builds out there that I am unaware of at the moment where you can cast Blade Ward either as a bonus action or attack while also casting a spell. So like there's probably some Gish options where if you, Gish being a hybrid martial character, caster character, where if you cast Blade Ward as an action, you can attack as an offhand or something. That's marginally better, but you would still just rather cast Firebolt or anything else True Strike gives you advantage on the attack roll at least, and True Strike is also horrendous. So we're scraping like bottom of the barrel to find use cases for this, and they're not good in the best, in very niche specific builds.
I do have a devil's advocate use for True Strike, but I'll wait till we get there.
Sure. True Strike is odd and pretty bad, but there probably are things you can do with it. I will note, if you do for some reason feel compelled to take Blade Ward, weapon attacks in 5e is a really weird nomenclature. You would expect, like, Bob, what would you say weapon attacks constitute?
Well, I mean, I was thinking just mundane weapons, but it doesn't say that. So I would include magical weapons. Are you trying to get spells in there, or what? What are you getting at?
Would you consider a tentacle to be a weapon?
Because
it is, according to 5th edition.
It is or isn't?
It is.
Yeah, because it's a natural weapon. It's got the word weapon in it.
Sure.
That's, yeah.
I guess. It turns out I believe it's every single attack roll that is in the monster manual, to my knowledge, is a melee weapon attack, or is a weapon attack, which means this does give you resistance to basically all of those damages. I also do believe that you're right in that this does give you resistance to magical weapon damage of that type. Maybe there's a reason that you don't want it to get, like, I don't know, you want resistance to something that's attacking you with a magical vorpal sword or something. It's going to kill you anyway. It's a vorpal sword. But
yeah,
in any situation, this, oh God, it's just so bad. It takes your action. You'd spend your whole action on this, Bob. You're in a fight for your life. You could do anything, and you choose to do Blade Ward? You had to choose this. You had to pick this out of a list of cantrips. You had other options. Like, while it feels like cantrips don't have a cost, right? The cost of this cantrip is not having another cantrip. And that is a fairly large deal. It's not having Mage Hand. It's not having Mending, which, while niche, sometimes is useful. It's not having Thaumaturgy or any other assortment of at least somewhat fun spells. This is just kind of boring, very bad. And I think the worst part about the spell is that there will be some new players out there that think it's good, and they will think that they are helpful in their encounters by casting it, and then be disappointed as to why they aren't doing anything, or why I cast Blade Ward and I still went under. And it just turns out that, like, if you're casting this and you get in melee range as your wizard, and you take 6 damage down to 3, and then you take 6 damage again down to 3, and you're unconscious now, you're still unconscious. You managed to get 1 extra attack from an enemy goblin. That was the outcome. Like, there will only be feel bads. This spell should not exist in this stature or in this form.
See, I could squeeze a usefulness out of this if you hadn't already brought up the dodge thing,
Yeah, you already have a way to mitigate attacks that is potentially better. Going from taking some damage to no damage is leagues better than going from taking some damage to half damage. Now, granted, it's not guaranteed. You can still get hit even after imposing disadvantage. But the outcomes are so far apart in power. Like, if you're at 1 hit point, this spell doesn't have text. It doesn't matter if you're resistant to the damage. The minimum's 1. Yeah. So you will take damage from this. At least dodging gets you out of that, conceivably. Right? That is at least another thing that it can do.
It has the potential to, yes.
It has the potential to do something that is impactful. There are just 0 circumstances where this is valuable to you. This is worse than taking a regular action. And you have to choose this.
Well, all right. I will I'll give it the usefulness that it's had for me tonight. It's a learning experience.
You had to have a bad experience with a spell so that you could learn to take better spells. What great game design. That's delightful. You had to be miserable 3 encounters to figure out, wow, I made a mistake and don't want this anymore. That's where I land on it. 1 out of 5, total garbage. Don't take this. Don't let your friends take this. If you see a new player taking this, be like, hey, that's cool. Why don't you consider if you're open to my suggestions? I would recommend starting with that, because some people be like, no, shut the fuck up. I'm gonna do my own thing. I would recommend then being like, what if you, instead of Blade Ward, have you heard of the dodge action? And then if you can take a different cantrip instead, and then maybe navigate them away from this utter trash of a spell.
Well, there you go. Learning tool. Now-
teaching tool. Yeah, great.
Now they've learned about dodge and not to choose Blade Ward.
It's a way to teach people that dodge exists. Beautiful.
All
Way to
right.
find the silver lining, Bob.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy I am.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, everyone, that's Blade Ward. Thank you, Sam, for enlightening me. And thank you, watchers and listeners, for joining us today. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.